Well, guys, the Cowboys won. Surprise, surprise. Shocker to everybody, including me. I can't lie, it kind of felt good. You know, I forgot what it felt like. I think we lost 4 straight since the Giants win. So it kind of felt good, but the whole time I'm just sitting there on that last drive, like just sitting there thinking to myself, you know, turn the ball over, or, you know, Andy Dalton throw another pick, or Zeke just fumble it, do something. Like let's not ruin this tank off. So, you know, I don't know whether to be pissed off at the Eagles for kind of ruining that master plan for us, or just to, you know, congratulate them for recognizing how bad they suck and joining the Cowboys and the rest of the NFC East in their efforts towards, you know, getting the best draft pick possible. So anyways, here we are, 3-7, looking like we're going to end up winning it somehow, some way. It just feels like that's going to be the outcome. As bad as I don't want that to happen, I think that there's a very good chance that it does now, just with our schedule remaining and obviously the current state of it. So you know, I just don't think that there's enough talent for us on the outside to compete. Like, as cool as that would be, you know, to win the division, you know, have a playoff game, host a playoff game for winning it. It's just, it doesn't make sense. I don't want to pick 19th, guys. I don't want to get bounced in the first round and then have a 19th overall pick. I just think it's best suited. You know, I'm not going to fight anybody either if they want to say that, you know, they're in the win now mode and all that. I can't say that you're wrong for thinking that. I just personally believe that the best possible outcome is for us to not win it and have as high of a pick as we can, and then, you know, go from there. So we talked about that in the past too. So I'll leave it at that. Couple quick things here. Just if you guys can leave me some feedback. I've kind of said it on a couple different posts, like in the messages and stuff. So I guess I need to also talk about it just so it may resonate a little bit deeper. Like, I'm not necessarily looking for anything other than just honest feedback. So, you know, shoot me straight, send me a text on the side, or message me directly, whatever you got to do. Just let me know what you think's going well, what you think isn't going well, some things I can work on, and we'll continue striving to make this thing better. I'm also going to add bullet points here. Somebody requested that too, so I'll post timestamps so you guys can see exactly where things are. And if you're in a time crunch and don't want to watch the whole 10 or 15, 20-minute video, however long it is, I'm trying to keep them all under 10, but I'll post the timestamps. That way you can get through and just kind of fast forward to some of the things that you want to hear. So we'll start off with, I want to talk about Zach Martin, and first give Brian Broaddus and Jeff Kavanaugh from 105 Through the Fan credit for this first. And I'll admit, I did not initially think that it was a good idea at the time. But they for many weeks now, maybe even honestly since week 3 or week 4, right after we got the news on Tyron and Lyle both going on season-ending IR, they were talking about flexing Zach Martin from right guard one spot over to right tackle, just because of how poorly that position was being held and maintained by Terrence Steele. There's just a lot of pressure coming off that right side, and you know, we saw it, guys. There was just so, like, whoever was under center, whether it be Dak, Garrett Gilbert, Andy Dalton, Ben DiNucci, whoever, you know, guys were just consistently getting pressured, and a lot of it was due to that position. And so that was the whole reason for Broaddus and Kavanaugh to say that. And to me, I was just like, well, our offensive line is already decimated anyways. Why move a perennial all-pro out of his strong suit position to another position? So it's like you're just weakening at one extra spot. That was what I thought initially, but that turned out to be wrong. Zach Martin yesterday played a phenomenal game, and the reason I know that is because I think we only heard his name one time, and that was just the announcers acknowledging that he had made that positional switch. So usually, that's the funny thing about the lineman position. If you're not actively scouting or evaluating that position, it seems like, you know, if they're doing their job, or if you don't hear their name called, it's because they're doing their job. So I just think that's kind of funny how that position works. But anyway, credit to Zach Martin. I think they gave up 1 sack yesterday, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that is just a testament to shoring up both edges, with Cam Irving on the left, Zach Martin on the right, and then you've got Joe Looney in the middle, and then the other two guards kind of, holding their own as well, learning with, Biotish and McGovern and Connor Williams too at left guard. So there was one sack. I think it was a coverage sack, meaning it wasn't necessarily anybody on the line's fault. It was just credit to the Vikings secondary for maintaining coverage and not allowing Andy Dalton anywhere to throw the football. And I think he acknowledged that in his post-game presser as well. So I just wanted to mention Zach Martin's name there, and we'll leave that at that. And then the next thing I want to kind of talk about too is the receiver position. This rookie class is incredible. On April 23rd, we saw two examples of that yesterday with CD and Justin Jefferson. But April 23rd, when we selected CD, I did say that I thought that it was very possible by the end of this season that CD would be the best receiver, the number one receiver on the Cowboys roster. A bunch of my friends in my group chat, we talked about that as well. But I was pretty bold in making that statement, as good as Amari Cooper has been. And so I say that to say this: I still think that as of right now, that isn't true, but I think that it's trending in that direction. And CD, to me, I think he's a superstar, and we're seeing that week in and week out. Just the guy does things with. He's just a playmaker, guys, and that's really plain and simple. Amari is still treated by other teams as the Cowboys' true number one receiver. He gets the number one receiver treatment, and that's just because he has the positional versatility, or the position flex. They can flex him in and out. Like Amari can play the slot receiver position as well as the outside, and basically all that really, the only main difference is, the job of the outside receiver is a lot of times they're bigger, more physical guys. Amari only has like 5 pounds on CD, I think, but they're a little bit better in their release, and they can threaten teams vertically. Amari's a little bit faster as well. So just off the line of scrimmage, they've got to be able to beat press man coverage, and so it requires a little bit more physicality and a little bit better, I guess, of a free releasing route runner. So that to me, it's like CD's well on his way towards being a bona fide superstar in this league, and I just think that as of right now, he's up there as far as being equally as talented as Amari. I just think he's still at this present moment not technically the number one receiver. And then also later this week, I'm going to do a little bit of I guess like a project, I'll call it. I want to take a deep dive and look at the most historical or best historical wide receiver draft classes, and just see how this one might have a chance to stack up in that regard as well. So stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be kind of fun to see, just thinking about all the receivers that are already making their name known or becoming household names in the NFL. It's just crazy. So that's another thing too that I wanted to talk about, is with that in mind, and just how good these receivers are coming out of college nowadays, and how the transition is becoming smoother and smoother with NFL teams adopting the college offensive system. I think we're going to start to see NFL teams build around, like from on the defensive side of the ball, as opposed to more of a defensive minded in the trenches, or a defensive roster building mindset starting with the trenches. I think we may see some teams start to follow what Brian Flores and the Miami Dolphins have adopted, and build from the outside with their two corners, Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, who obviously, I wish still was a Dallas Cowboy in a Dallas Cowboys uniform. But, similar to what I referenced with the offensive linemen, if you're not hearing their name, that means they're doing their job. That's why Byron Jones, in my opinion, didn't garner the most respect, or didn't get the top 3, top 5 corner respect last year before the Cowboys moved on from him, just solely because teams respect him so much. They don't throw his way. They don't give him a lot of chances to make plays, and that's why he was amongst the top in terms of completion percentage when targeted but also amongst the bottom of the league in turnovers forced or created, just because he didn't have nearly as much of an opportunity as all the other corners league-wide get. And, you know, that's true for certain other players too, you know, most notably Stephon Gilmore last year. But, you know, that's just something that I think we're going to kind of see as the league continues to evolve. We're going to see the corner position become ever more important, and you've got to have not just one, you know, lockdown, shut down corner that can take away one side of the field, but you've got to have multiple guys that can cover, which is why that I think that's probably the number one reason right now, aside from Dak being hurt, that I would argue that it's best for us not to win the division and not make the playoffs. Just I think playoff teams in the NFC, like, you know, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, or Tom Brady and their, you know, trio of elite wide receivers that they have, it's like the Cowboys just don't stack up well at all with anybody on the outside. And the best quarterbacks in the NFL that we would see in the playoffs would be able to exploit that. And really, it's just a huge disadvantage for us right now, especially with Trevon Diggs being out for who knows how long. So that's just the thought process there, and I wanted to kind of mention that. So let's see here, what else we got? A couple other things I wanted to mention. Okay, so I want to kind of introduce a little bit of I guess it's like a thought process, maybe, or just I want people to start paying closer attention as fans to these three things offensively. And it's something that I've started to study quite a bit more since, you know, following guys like Warren Sharp, who's a great follow, by the way. If you don't know who he is, I highly recommend consuming some of his content as well. But just guys like that, and, you know, there are other examples too, but he's the most notable one for me. And it's these three things: pre-snap motion. This is offensively, okay? Pre-snap motion, misdirection, and the utilization of play action passes. So I'll keep it real short and sweet here too. The main reason why what those three things do, and I'll let you guys kind of, you know, look into it a little bit yourselves and see what you think, but all those three things, they do one thing, and that is freeze opposing defenders. So what they do is it forces false pursuit and or makes them freeze and before they can react and commit to pursuing a play. And I can dig way deeper into that as well, but just to kind of touch on that and keep this video under 20 minutes again, here I go rambling. That's very, very important in my opinion offensively, and we're seeing the best teams do that. And that's kind of where I'm getting at too. It's just what we saw Kellen Moore do yesterday in a couple crucial situations, and in my opinion, what helped us win the game were utilizing those three things and a couple of those different scoring plays and drives that led to scoring plays. This guy is the real deal, and he's very, very quickly, may not be till next year when we've got the full squad back healthy off of IR, but Kellen Moore is the real deal, guys, and we're seeing now why the Cowboys have fought for him and have kept him around now with their second coaching regime, and why McCarthy was all on board with that train as well. So credit to Kellen Moore there too. And then I guess the only other real thing I wanted to touch on, some college football. Not going to go too deep into this as well, but had a great time watching the OSU Bedlam game in Tulsa with a couple buddies this weekend, and it just looks like OU and Texas. That doesn't look like it. It is. They control their own destiny. So just as a college football fan, as a Texas fan, I think that would be amazing if Texas can win out. They beat Iowa State starting this weekend, and then back-to-back weeks in Kansas, and take care of K-State and KU. And OU does the same as well with their remaining slate. Then that'd be amazing to see those two teams link up again in the Big 12 title game for the second time in 3 years. And so I just hope we get that. Another thing too, real quick, this just came as just a random thought from that game, that OU game. One of the running backs, from Andre Stevenson, who I love, by the way. I think he's got a incredible arsenal, or just he's a complete back to me. There really isn't a hole in his game. When when I watch his lateral agility, his burst, his strength between the tackles, quality receiver catching the ball. Seems like he's got good patience at times, and as well as some home run ability. But he broke like a 30-plus yard run, maybe a 40-yard run in that game. And I kept saying, wait for it, just wait for it. It was coming. It's just like the Derrick Henry treatment. Guys like him who can punish defenders, they wear teams down, and in the fourth quarter you see him break off big runs. But I kept saying, just wait for it, and then boom, he rips off that 30-plus yard splash play run, and then the very next play, Lincoln Riley turns and hands it to him again, and I think it might have been like a zone stretch the opposite direction, the same play just in a different direction. But in my head, I'm like, why do coaches do that over and over again? Like, we'll see. You guys pay attention to this too. Like, if you see a running back break off a big play, why do they insist on this guy's gas? He's just running, a full speed, full-blown sprint down the field, totally gassed, doesn't have any juice. Why do they turn around and give it to him again on the very next play? That's something I'll never understand. So I don't know if they think they're just going to catch defenses off guard by saying, oh, he just ripped off this run. They'll never think that we're going to hand it to him again. But even if that's true, like whatever sort of competitive advantage you gain by the element of surprise there, you lose by that guy being tired and having no burst. So I just don't really understand that. I just thought that was kind of funny. I wanted to touch on that a little bit and see if anybody else noticed that weird phenomenon that occurs. As good of a play caller as Lincoln Riley is, that's the thing that just I don't understand. So anyways, hope we get the Red River rivalry rematch, the Quad R. That rematch again in December in Arlington. I think it'd be outdoor this year too, if I'm not mistaken. I think one of my friends was telling me that since the Texas high school football playoffs will be, I guess, in effect already at AT&T Stadium, they've got AT&T booked, and so the Big 12 championship game is going to be played outside at the ballpark in Arlington. I think that's true. So that would be kind of cool to have an outdoor game in December for the championship. See a little bit more of a physical style of football. But last thing I wanted to touch on, I guess, is the Mavs draft. I thought the addition of Josh Richardson, who Chris and Hunter have been harping on and preaching about his talent and how good of a two-way guy that he is for 2 years now, seeing his name come across and basically be a new addition to the Mavs roster was a very exciting thing for me. I will say too, the two guys I wanted the most were Jeremy Grant and Danilo Gallinari. I thought if we were able to somehow get one of those two guys, that we would become immediate Western Conference contenders, and I said that to Chris and Hunter, and I think maybe Taji as well. So that didn't happen, unfortunately, but Josh Richardson was a very, very, very quality consolation prize for me too. I think what he offers on the defensive end of the floor, he's immediately our best defender. Him and Dorian Finney-Smith will be nice together. Those two guys are pretty versatile and can defend multiple positions. And then his ability to shoot the three ball too. He's not obviously as efficient as Seth Curry, who was involved in the other end of that deal. We lost Seth, obviously, but we got a pick and Josh Richardson in exchange from the Sixers in return. So not going to be quite as efficient of a shooter as Seth Curry is from the three-point line, which really nobody is. I think he actually has the second most efficient three-point shot in NBA history as it currently stands right now. So kind of hurts to lose somebody like that, but I think it's a great trade and makes a lot of sense for both teams. And I know Chris was happy about that for his Sixers as well. And then another thing too, outside of that, the first round pick, Josh Green from Arizona, another two-way guard, similar style of player as Josh Richardson. I thought that was a great addition as well. It's obviously too early to tell. We'll see how those draft picks pan out. And the same thing too, the guy that we got in exchange for Seth Curry, along with Josh Richardson, Tyler Bay. Where's his school from? I think he was also from somewhere in the Pac-12. I know he was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. So it's obvious that the Mavs recognized their deficiency last year defensively, couldn't stop anybody. One of the best offenses in NBA history, but we're giving up I think the second highest points per game last season. And so, just addressing their weakness there, getting more physical, prioritizing guys who can just get out there and be scrappy and defend. And then not to mention the addition of James Johnson. I think those are two really, really good gets for the Mavs right there. So hopefully we see them become more physical. And now that Josh Richardson is in town and Tim Hardaway Jr. is our fourth best player, that's kind of just the way that I look at it. If last year Tim Hardaway Jr. was your third best player, now he's your fourth, to me you got better. And you definitely got better at the defensive side of the floor too. So, what the Lakers did, credit to them. It feels like it's already a foregone conclusion now at this point that they're going to win the finals again next year. It's just crazy, all their acquisitions they got, and LeBron James still a top 2, maybe top 1 player in the world. That's just wild. So we missed out on Jeremy Grant and Danilo Gallinari, and it doesn't look like Zach LaVine's going anywhere. So that was it is what it is. But I think that the Mavs are gonna easily have contend to be a top 4 seed in the West next year. So it's just gonna be fun continuing to watch Luka grow and just see his development from this point on. Hopefully Kristaps stays healthy too. But anyways, all right, guys, stay tuned for later on this week. Like I said, I'm gonna do a little project here and see how this receiver class could potentially stack up historically in NFL history, and then we'll see how that looks. All right, catch y'all later.